Hi everyone, my name's Alan. I'm a very grateful, recovered compulsive overeater here in the kind of north west kind of areas of Kent, southeast London. So it's so good to be with you. So I came into the rooms in 2007, and today, by the grace of my higher power, I've been released of, I'll do it in all three measurements because people do different things. So 12 stone, if you're in the UK, 168 pounds, if that means something to you, or 76 kilos, if that means something to you. So hopefully that is a whole person, and that is good. Yes, that does bring some fringe benefits, but it's not the main reason I stay in the rooms, and it didn't give me the serenity and the grace that I thought it would. And my current abstinence date is August of 2020. I don't specifically count days. I had to work back through messages with our sponsor to work out when that was. That was for me, I count that from when I reached step 10. So that was not just white knuckling a diet. That was when I had real connection with this new higher power. That's for me when I count mine. So August 2020. And again, I don't know how that happened, So I said I came in 2007, 2020, there's a bit of a gap. So I think I went a bit off the rails in those times, or more to the point, I didn't really dig into the steps or recovery. I tried to find the easier, softer way in the rooms, using this, like the pay ways, the group support was great. There was a great feeling of camaraderie, but I didn't really want to work the steps. They seemed too scary. I tried just working the tools. I tried working the steps still in the food, and funny enough, none of them work. So I took the long road, and I have to do things again and again and again, and I still don't get the message. So yeah, 17 years in program, and I feel like a newcomer. All of this seems new to me. Every time I read literature, it's different. Every time I read or speak to somebody, more things come to light. Listen to all the resources that are available now since kind of the pandemic. There is so many resources out there. And for my job, I drive for a living, so I get to listen to recovery kind of resources all the time, which is absolutely great. There isn't a day in the last 3 years that I've not done something for fellowship. And hearing somewhere, this is not just something I do for an hour once a week like I thought it was. This has become part of who I am, a part of my life. It's everything. The first thing I do when I wake up, instead of getting annoyed that I've woken up ridiculously early and I could have had 2 hours sleep, think, okay, I'll connect with my higher power, God, higher power, whatever. I do use different names. That's an opportunity to connect in prayer, which is a really nice way of doing it. Ask my kind of my smart device to play some calming music and just listen, just pray, just to connect. And that isn't something I thought I would ever do coming into these rooms. Like many people, I had a lot of old ideas about what God was, and reading the steps on the website before I came in, seemed really scary. This did sound like a cult. And the first time everybody stood up in my home meeting, as it was then, in a church in Chatham in Kent, which was my home meeting for about 10 years before it closed, they stood up and held hands. There was about 8 to 10 people. And there was just this strange feeling. It was so odd. It's like, what on earth is going on? And it's funny, fast forward to last July at the Birmingham Convention, holding hands in a circle of about 160 people, I was in floods of tears because just the power in that room was amazing. I'm not one that naturally likes to express emotion. It's still a bit tricky to find the balance, so either go all or nothing. But just being okay with that was absolutely fine to feel that emotion in that moment, and I did. And that's the turning point. It's amazing how a few years can make such a difference. So they say don't leave before the miracle happens. If I'd left all those years ago, I would have missed out on this amazing new life. Like, as I said, yes, that weight loss is great. It means I can buy clothes in a normal shop. I don't have to go online. Or when I was at my biggest, I had to go to specialist menswear stuff to buy the 4XL because they were just not available anywhere here in the UK. And they were horrible, meant for kind of much older men, and I was in my teens. So for me, I know how to eat. I definitely qualify for this, and I really don't want to get stuck too far into kind of the eat-a-log. It all sounds the same in the end. Yes, I know how to eat. I can put away a lot of food and put on weight very quickly, to the point my body in my teens was struggling. So I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, later on hypertension, all because my body could not cope. It's a clear warning sign. You need to stop, but I couldn't. It says in the big book, fear sobered me for a bit. And it did. That did scare me. Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my eyesight, lose my limbs, going to end up in a wheelchair, all of the stuff that comes with diabetes if unmanaged. And yes, I did manage to lose quite a bit of weight. But I'm a true addict. And it didn't stay for very long because, coming in the rooms thinking food is my only problem and the weight is just the problem. If I just put those down, I'd be fine. That period where I had to lose the weight for my health, I could only do it for a short period of time. Like I managed to lose about 10 stone at the time, which was a real struggle, trust me. That was real white knuckling. You know, my hands bled because I was holding on so tight because it was hard. Because what I hadn't realized is the real problem centers in my head, that I cannot manage life on life's terms. There is no reason out there in the world that makes me eat. What makes me eat is my reaction to those situations. There's many normal people, in commas, in the world that don't have to do destructive behaviors when something happens. You know, the car breaks down, they just call recovery. You know, they don't drive, they don't go somewhere and go hell for leather at the food or whatever their substance may be. But I've realized in recovery, each of the relapses has led me to a new level of surrender. There was some other lesson that I needed to learn through that. Some of it was ego. I remember early days thinking, yeah, I've got to step 12, fantastic, great. You know, I'm giving service at Intergroup. Kent and Essex no longer exists at the Intergroup at the time. It's great, I've arrived. And then slowly, the food began to come back in. But what I realized through relapses is the food is always the last thing I pick up. What the relapses actually started way before. My thinking, I've stopped doing the work. I don't need to do a 10. I don't need to do 11. I don't need to sponsor. It's too much work. I'm far too important. I stopped connecting to higher power. I stopped doing the work. And guess what? I end up back in the food every single time, no matter what. So ego, just complacency, listening to the lies. And even a few years ago, so 2019, you know, home meeting closed. And guess what? I thought I'll be okay. I've been in all these years. I've got all the literature. I'll be fine. I'm sure you can guess where that went. Back into the food. I held on to resentment and I found it and it flamed and all of a sudden I'm back in the food again. You know, with the same justification, poor me, you know, they did this, they did that, life's not fair, it's not going my way, I want this, this and the other. I know today that I could have everything in the world that I think materialistically would make me happy. I could win the Euro Millions. I could win, you know, I could have the house here, there, and everywhere in different countries, my own private jet, this, a partner, kids, dog, whatever it is, a farmer, you know, a castle, whatever, happily ever after with my Prince Charming. I still would not be happy. There would still be part of me on that day when I've moved in that's going to tell me it's not enough. I'm always going to, I think I'm always going to have this head, this disconnect, this slight disconnect. It's narrowed a bit. But I think there's still going to be the element of needing something more, which I realize now is that connection to my higher power, which I was missing all along. It's something that I resisted so strong coming in. I really didn't want this God, you know, trying to come to terms with sexuality, with life and this eating disorder. How does this work? But funny enough, over many years, it slowly did and began to just magically form together. I found a loving higher power. Although I still don't fully understand what it is. So if anyone is new and you don't understand it, you don't need to. Step 2 came to believe. It's a process, a lifelong process. It doesn't have to be completed. You don't have to get a first-class honours degree in OA to move on with step 3, etc. I just have to be aware that, okay, I'm absolutely effed up with or without the food. I can't manage with or without, put it down. I'm just as crazy, if not more so, without the food. So therefore, okay, I'm in a real tricky situation. I need this and I want this. Okay, I'm ready to look at step 2. Okay, there's something out there. What is it? I've no idea, but something works, you know. And for me, I connect to my power in different ways. Writing before this, sometimes just a simple thank you, you know, laying in silence in a dark room can be connection. However, to me, it always changes. It's a complete process. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but it doesn't matter. Whatever comes out, comes out. But what I've realized most importantly is there are steps after step 9. You know, all of them are important. And I think with an open heart, which is what I did back in 2019, I was fully ready. I avoided big book people and sponsors because, you know, big book thumpers, they were just too harsh and too critical and too in your face. I couldn't cope with that. It wasn't. Don't look at who's disturbed, look at what was disturbed. And it's always something in me. And I was finally ready. Okay, yep, I'll take this big book sponsor. I'll read this book that I really don't like. And all of a sudden, like magic, it reads completely differently. I fully relate to all of it. It makes complete sense now. And I do the daily work, you know, that 10, 11 and 12 is part of that daily practice. For me, 10 is a fantastic way of dealing with anything that comes up. Okay, I'm annoyed about a situation like I did yesterday. I send them to my sponsor. I don't think, oh, come on, I should be recovered by now. You know, 17 years in, I should be able to deal with this tiny little insignificant thing. It might seem small, but I have to step 10 it. Okay, this is an invitation from a higher power to dig deeper to that relationship. What do you want me to learn from this? So I pray, I see the selfishness, the dishonesty, the resentment and the fear. Immediately send it in a message to my sponsor. You know, digital means, WhatsApp is fantastic. Send it and it's gone. Most important thing in step 10 is just that I pray. I'm open. Okay, there's more to this than what I can see. And I let that go. So sending that to my sponsor is a great way of sending that into the universe to let it go. You know, 11. Oh, I love with step 10, it says when, not if we were wrong, because I'm always wrong. There's always something in me that I need to look at. 11, you know, that sort through premeditation. There is no one right way to do it. I don't need to sit in the lotus position with a mat and incense and candles. You know, if you do, I'm not knocking anyone's practice. You find what works for you. But for me, that was always what meditation was. And it really isn't. It's just directed thinking, you know, just letting the thoughts wash across my mind, because I cannot completely stop thoughts coming in my head. I'm human. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that. Maybe some people can, I cannot. But I don't have to hold on to it. I can say, okay, I noticed that, I let it go. For me, I envision clouds. Just let it go. Just let it drift. Okay, God, I noticed it. I'm letting it go to you. And that's really, really powerful. I love nature. After this, I'll be going over to my allotment to get stuff ready. I just love being at one with nature, because it helps me realize that I still need to work on patience, because that's still a struggle. I want it now, but it doesn't, nature doesn't work like that. So it's always a good reminder, you know. And it's just asking for knowledge of God's will. I don't know what that is, but I get an invitation each day to re-ask that same question. Okay, where do you want me today? What can I do today? No matter what comes up, you know, dealing with some stuff with my father and his health, it's easy to get caught up in, okay, this is going to happen and this, and poor me, and catastrophize. But actually, okay, what can I do today? They need help. Okay, I'll do this. We'll look at whatever steps can be taken today. What can I do today? Been so helpful, helping my mum through her cancer treatment ages ago. Luckily, she's all good now. But just, okay, you know, I really let into program. Okay, God, what can I do here? And that's it, each day, doing the work. And 12, you know, absolutely love 12. You know, having had a spiritual awakening, that personality change, as it says about in Appendix 2, yes, I have. I don't need to do the same things I did with the food anymore. There is stuff downstairs in the kitchen that doesn't call to me anymore. I don't need to punish myself, nor do I want to. I want this loving connection with both fellows and my higher power. I want what this program gives me. It's taken me so long to get here that I really want this to be part of my life, hopefully forever. But who knows? I can only do what I can do today. So for me, doing this share, the fact that it's recorded, used to really absolutely terrify me, and I couldn't do it. But start off small. You know, all I could do was do timekeeper at a meeting, or to read the steps or something at a meeting. Whatever, even if I wasn't that tech savvy with all of these digital platforms at first, you know, I've slowly learned how to do it. Start off where I'm comfortable and work on from that. But I realized I missed out so much on step 12. For years, I never sponsored. But doing the steps with my current sponsor, getting through the end of the book, right, I can't wait to find a sponsor and get going. And I did. Within a week, I began working with someone. And it's a gift. But what I need to let go of is my ego. It's not about me whether they get it or not. It is none of my business. All I do is share my experience, strength, and hope, and we read the book together. And it's a gift for me to get to listen to someone's 5 and realizing that we're really not so different. You know, I can relate to practically everything someone says, even if they've had an entirely different life from me. And I do often sponsor people from other countries. So there's a lot of cultural differences, but I can fully relate to usually the behaviors and the thoughts behind that. And there's no judgment. It's a real gift to be able to help someone, or to try, you know, in whatever small way I can. And if they don't get it, I don't need to beat myself up anymore, because that was always the fear. Fear held me back from so much. You know, it talks about it. It's an evil and corroding thread, and it really does. So many opportunities missed out on because of the fear. Either fear of or resentment of the past, and then fear of the future. So I was just constantly crippled. So I realize I'm coming up to time. So I just want to share just a paragraph from page 511. It's in the story Gutter Bravado. It says, words cannot begin to describe the feelings in my heart as I sometimes ponder how much my life has changed, how far I've come, and how much there is yet to discover. And although I'm not sure where my journey may take me next, I owe it all to the grace of God and to the 3 words of the 12 steps: continue, improve, and practice. Oh, and one more thing they told me: humility is the key. And that's where the story ends. That continue, improve, and practice, 10, 11, and 12. You know, it's a constant evolution. I never stay the same. The disease changes, my recovery has to change. And it will continue to do so. What I did last week or last year or 10 years ago will need to be developed and evolved. And I'm open to that. I'm always open to see what the next day has in store. So that is my time. I wish you all a pleasant recovery, and thank you for letting me share.